It's a quarter of a century since these shots were fired, the shots that killed President Kennedy. The official murder investigation, the Warren Commission report, hasn't stood the test of time. This dispatch tries to answer the great unanswered questions. Who killed Kennedy, and how was the truth concealed? The search was a labour of love for producer Chris Plumley, lasting many years. And for musicians and video makers Godley and Cream, it was the chance to direct their first documentary. The answers shouldn't have had to wait for so long since that day in Dallas, the day the dream died.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a press report over the wires. We hope that it is unconfirmed, but we have to doubt it, that the President of the United States has been the victim of an assassination.
"25 years ago, we all watched these scenes in shock as the body of the assassinated president was taken to Washington. And we asked why. Why did he have to die? Why did the dream have to end? We never got any satisfactory answers for one simple reason. We were asking the wrong questions. Over the years, new evidence has been discovered. Some of it has only become available as a result of the Freedom of Information Act, and now at last we know the questions that should have been asked. Question 1. Our evidence points to an inescapable conclusion. This casket was empty. The question is why? Question 2. Lyndon B. Johnson. What did this man stand to gain from the death of President Kennedy? Question 3. Who was this man? Question 4. Why did all these witnesses have to die? Question 5. Why was Lee Harvey Oswald arrested so quickly?
No, I've not been charged with that.
Question 6. Who set Jack Ruby up to kill Oswald? Question 7. Why was it necessary to alter Kennedy's body before the official autopsy in Washington? Question 8. Why did the Dallas doctors change their testimony the very next day? Question 9. Why was Kennedy's brain missing at the autopsy in Washington? Question 10. Why did the Warren Commission deceive the world? Good evening. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, and for 1,000 days, the most powerful man in the Western world. Those days of the early 60s are still, for many, a golden era, a time when the most charismatic leader of post-war years turned the White House into Camelot. During the intervening years, we have witnessed an uninterrupted flow of speculation about the findings of the Warren Commission and their official version of events surrounding the assassination. But to understand what really happened and the political climate that allowed it to happen, we must first look at Kennedy himself and the changing world in which he lived.
As I travel around Texas.
He was the first president to come to terms with the television age, but he had problems at home.
Some merchant happens to have Polish ham in his shop. Saying he's unpatriotic doesn't seem to me to be a great contribution in the fight against communism.
On the international front, the threat of atomic war was ever present, The nuclear arms race was at fever pitch, and Kennedy and Soviet leader Khrushchev fought a battle of wits that brought the world closer to destruction than at any stage in history.
Each increase of tension has produced an increase of arms. Each increase of arms has produced an increase of tension.
I have a dream.
Civil rights was a pressing issue.
My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Cuba, communism, and Castro were a constant source of tension, but the world stage was Kennedy's.
In the world of freedom, the proudest boast is, Ich bin ein Berliner.
The youngest ever president and his family brought Hollywood style and glamour to the White House. Kennedy was the new face of America, a man who appeared to embody the promise of a better future, a man for whom re-election in 1964 was all but guaranteed.
More than 3 years, I've spoken about the new frontier. This is not a partisan term, and it's not the exclusive property of Republicans or Democrats. It refers instead to this nation's place in history.
The campaign trail led to Texas, a crucial state for the Democrats and one that demanded a high profile.
Traveling with the presidential party are Vice President and Mrs. Johnson and Texas Governor John Connally. Friday morning, 11 o'clock. The presidential jet leaves Fort Worth for the short flight to Dallas.
Really, I don't anticipate any violence.
Friday morning, 11:37. The president's jet lands at the Dallas airport, Love Field.
Kennedy's visit to Dallas was part of the normal political round, but Dallas was far from a normal city. It was acknowledged as one of the country's breeding grounds for ultra-right-wing causes.
The president's car is now turning onto Elm Street, and it will be only a matter of minutes before he arrives at the Trade Mart. I was on Simmons Freeway earlier, and even the freeway was jam-packed with spectators waiting their chance to see the president as he made his way towards the Trade Mart.
Every rule in the Secret Service book had been broken. The president and vice president should not have appeared together. The open-topped presidential limousine should not have been the lead vehicle and should have been traveling faster. These are the complete findings of the Warren Commission, the official version of events surrounding the death of the president. The commission had been set up soon after the assassination by Lyndon Johnson, and its timely publication in October 1964, just before the presidential election, was intended to show that the new president had done all in his power to discover the truth. And on the face of it, he had. These 26 volumes were greeted as the most diligent and painstaking research possible. But they were almost impossible to read. The compilers didn't provide an index, and it wasn't until later when a remarkable lady called Sylvia Marr, working independently, indexed all the evidence. Only then could the findings be properly understood. How was the president killed?
The shots which killed President Kennedy and wounded Governor Connally were fired from the 6th floor window at the southeast corner of the Texas School Book Depository. The weight of the evidence indicates that there were 3 shots fired.
That footage was taken by amateur cameraman Abraham Zabruda. It became the Bible of the assassination, and there can hardly be anyone who has never seen it before. But what no one has seen until today are those pictures complete with soundtrack, and it's thanks to the work of another remarkable woman. Mary Farrell dedicated her life to tracking down anything to do with the assassination. With Gary Mack and Robert Groden, she discovered a dicta belt recording. A police outrider had sent a signal throughout the shooting. Electronic enhancement revealed the shots. Eventually, she managed to persuade her senator to reopen the inquiry into the assassination, and the recording was authenticated. Now we can hear and see exactly what happened.